In 2024, the Japanese government completed a project to remove the floppy disk from its legal regulations. Until that year, over 1,000 Japanese government processes formally required the submission of files on 3.5-inch floppy disks. The reform was treated as a major modernization milestone. The minister overseeing it gave press conferences. International media covered the event. The same Japanese government, as of this video, still requires fax machines for hundreds of administrative processes. A survey of Japanese public schools in 2024 found that over 70% still use fax machines as part of their normal workflow. Over 90% reported that certain official documents must still be physically stamped with a personal seal called a hanko before submission. Japan has, by most measures, the most digitally backward administrative infrastructure of any developed economy. This is, on its face, a paradox. Japan invented the consumer fax machine in its modern form. Japan was a pioneer in early computing. Japan led the global semiconductor industry in the 1980s. Japan produced Nintendo, Sony, Toyota, and the world's most advanced manufacturing automation. The country is not technologically incapable. It is, by any reasonable measure of engineering depth, more capable than most of the countries that have already moved past fax machines. The reason Japan still uses fax machines in 2026 is not technological inability. It is structural. And the structure that protects the fax machine is the same structure that has produced many of Japan's other distinctive characteristics. The structure starts with hanko. A hanko is a personal seal, traditionally made of wood, stone, or ivory, that a Japanese person uses in place of a signature. Every adult Japanese has at least one hanko, registered with the local government, and uses it on documents that in other countries would be signed. Buying property, opening a bank account, signing employment contracts, all involve hanko impressions. The hanko is not just a cultural artifact. It is a legal infrastructure. Japanese contract law treats a hanko impression as the formal mark of a party's consent. Many contracts and documents are not legally valid without one. The hanko is, in this sense, comparable to a notary's seal in the West, except that every Japanese adult is, effectively, their own notary. The fax machine is connected to the hanko because, structurally, faxing is the only way to transmit a hanko impression that the receiving party will accept as legally equivalent to the original. If you scan a hanko stamped document and email it, the resulting digital file is, in many Japanese legal and business contexts, not considered acceptable. The hanko has been digitally reproduced. The reproduction is treated as a copy of a copy. If you fax the same document, however, the receiving party gets a paper output that contains the hanko impression. The paper output is treated by most Japanese institutions as legally equivalent to the original. The fax machine is, in effect, a transmission device that turns a digital signal back into a physical document with the formal authority of the original. This is not a technical limitation. It is a legal and cultural convention. Japan could, at any point in the last 30 years, have changed its laws to recognize digital signatures or scanned hanko impressions as equivalent to faxed ones. Several other countries have done this. The European Union has comprehensive electronic signature legislation. The United States has the e-Sign Act. Japan has, until recently, declined to make the change. The reason Japan declined is the second structural factor, which is institutional resistance. In Japan, administrative processes are, by global standards, unusually distributed across many small offices and ministries. Each office controls its own paperwork. Each office has its own forms, its own filing systems, and its own procedural conventions. There is no central authority capable of forcing all Japanese administrative bodies to switch to digital workflows simultaneously. When the Japanese government tried in the early 2020s to begin a comprehensive digital transformation, it discovered that the resistance was not at the political level. It was at the level of individual ministries, each of which had specific procedural reasons why their existing workflows could not be changed. The number of formal objections lodged against various digital transformation proposals exceeded 400. Each objection was reasonable on its own terms. The aggregate effect was that nothing could change quickly. This is a structural feature of how the Japanese bureaucracy is organized. It is designed for stability rather than for adaptability. Each office is protected from external pressure to change. Each office is responsible for maintaining its own procedural integrity. Each office can, in effect, veto changes that would disrupt its existing workflows. The third structural factor is demographic. Japan is the most aged society in the world. The median age in Japan is 49. The voting electorate is older still. The bureaucratic workforce, which executes administrative processes, skews even older. Older workers, in any country, are typically more comfortable with the workflows they grew up with. In Japan, this effect is amplified by the cultural emphasis on seniority and procedural respect. A younger employee who suggests that the office should stop using fax machines is, in many Japanese workplaces, perceived as criticizing the senior employees who built the existing workflows. This is socially difficult in ways that have specific consequences for what kinds of change are possible. The result is that the people who would benefit most from digital transformation, younger workers and citizens who interact with the bureaucracy, have the least political power to push for it. The people with the most political power, older bureaucrats and senior officials, have the least incentive to change. The status quo is protected by both the formal structure of the bureaucracy and the informal cultural conventions that operate inside it. The fourth factor, which is the least often discussed, is that the existing system actually works. Japanese administrative processes are, by international standards, extremely reliable. Tax filings are processed on time. Property records are accurate. Bank transactions are documented. Identity verification is robust. The infrastructure that supports all of this is technically antiquated. The output is functionally exceptional. The argument from defenders of the existing system is that the antiquated infrastructure is what produces the reliable output. The hanko system creates accountability because each impression is uniquely traceable to a registered individual. The fax system creates a paper trail because every transmission produces a physical document. The distributed bureaucracy creates redundancy because no single point of failure can disrupt the whole system. These arguments are, from a global comparison perspective, partly correct. Countries that have aggressively digitized their administrative processes have, in some cases, encountered new failure modes. Estonia has been targeted by cyber attacks specifically because of its digital infrastructure. The United States has had recurring problems with digital identity fraud. The United Kingdom has, multiple times, accidentally lost millions of citizens' records through technical errors. Japan's antiquated system has not had these problems at the same scale. The system is slow. The system is paper-intensive. The system requires citizens to physically appear at offices and stamp documents with personal seals. The system is also, in the things it is designed to do, extremely robust. The trade-off Japan has made is between efficiency and reliability. Most developed countries have prioritized efficiency. Japan has prioritized reliability. Both choices have consequences. The Japanese choice produces a society where administrative processes feel like they belong to an earlier century. It also produces a society where those processes almost always work correctly. There is a deeper observation buried in this story. Most countries that have tried to digitize their administrative processes have done so by accepting some new risks in exchange for speed. Japan has so far declined to accept those risks. The decision has costs. It also has benefits. The benefits are usually invisible until the cost of losing them becomes apparent. The Japanese government continues to slowly reform the system. The digital agency, established in 2021, has gradually been retiring specific paper requirements. The hanko requirement has been removed from many processes. The fax machine is slowly being replaced. The change is happening. It is happening on a timeline that, in any other country, would be considered intolerably slow. In Japan, it is happening on the timeline the existing structure can absorb without breaking the things the existing structure does well. If you found this interesting, subscribe. We go deep on the structural reasons different countries make different trade-offs between efficiency and reliability in their administrative systems. Drop your requests in the comments. Thanks for watching.